Hello again and welcome. This is Michael Pizzolla here, and I'd like to welcome you to this edition of the ValueCapping video rant. And today we're going to look at another Derby prep race for March 1st, 2014, the Grade 3 Gotham Stakes. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Michael Pizzolla. I am author of the best-selling book Handicapping Magic, co-author of the classic book Pace Makes the Race, creator of the original online racing forum, and I'm now publisher of the Post Time Daily 2.0 and also the Blackmagic Ultimate Handicapper software. And what you see on the screen in front of you is the Post Time Daily 2.0. It's open to the Grade 3 Gotham Stakes. I have to tell you that it is currently kind of stormy on the East Coast, so I don't know what the weather is going to be like. So I'm going to value cap from the point of view that this track is going to be pretty normal. If it's muddy and off and all, well, that's going to be a different set of criteria. But I think the basic analysis will be pretty much the same. Just wanted to show you a couple of quick things for those of you who don't have Post Time Daily, and even for those of you who do and forget about these things, we've made it so incredibly easy to download the races. You just click on that little download button, and you don't have to go to a website. You don't have to import. You don't have to download, go to a separate thing. Right inside of the program, you just pick your date. Now, I'm talking to you on February 28th, 2014, so we'll just go to March 1st, and you see a list of all the races. All the tracks. You can select them all if you want and download them all. 23 cards of races available. I'm going to unselect them. And let's say if you wanted to take, Fairgrounds and Golden Gate, just for example. Look how fast this is. You click OK, and there they are. It's almost instant. Now, I did not do anything with the video. That's how fast they come in. Okay. The other thing I wanted to remind you of is that there are pretty good selections in the Post Time Daily. You see this check mark up here. You just click on that, race selections, and you'll get some rankings. You'll get speed, pace, form, and class, as well as composite. It'll show you basic rankings. It'll show you the morning line. Here, the 2 and the 1 look pretty good. Now, obviously, this doesn't give you the in-depth look that I like to have, but it is a great starting point. So, okay, I wanted to show you those couple of things, and let's get into the analysis. And to do that, I am going to use Blackmagic Ultimate Handicapper software. So, when we open up Blackmagic Ultimate Handicapping software, you can see that there are 6 horses above random, and I keep doing this. There are colts, technically. Okay, so there are 6 colts above random, and one of the first things I look at is where the morning line is, and we see that the morning line favorite is the entry Samrat and Noble Cornerstone, the Richard Violette entry. Then we have to go way down here to the 3 Uncle Si, and that's always a bit of a cautionary note. When, no matter how good your software is, you always have to have respect for the public. Maybe there's something going on with this horse that leads it to be 3-1. Oh, yes, it's had 3 lifetime races. It won one in a blowout, its maiden race. It finished second in the Withers, and so forth. So we're going to have to keep that in mind. Sometimes I think we fall too much in love with our numbers that we forget that, the public is pretty good at this, picks 33% winners. The third morning line favorite is the 8 Extra Sexy Hipster, and the 2, the In Trouble, which is 5-1. If we're going to take a quick look at these contenders, we would see that right away there are a couple of issues with In Trouble. The last time we saw this colt, it was winning the Grade 2 Futurity at Belmont, and it's been off since then. Yes, it's been working out. Anthony Ductro is a very, very competent trainer, obviously, and yet the horse the colt has been on a layoff. It's only got 2 sprints. Its energy looks okay for a mile and a 16th, and this is right away. This is a question mark. Now, the next horse down is intriguing for a couple of reasons. First, the Blam line makes it 6-1. The contention line, which is what the software thinks the public should do with the race, makes it pretty high at 13-1, which is unusual for a horse that's won its last 2 races in such good style. What attracted me to this is that I look at Acupressure, which is an attempt to combine the positional aspects of the race with the velocity aspects of the race. That's something that I could spend days talking about. But basically, this race, from the computer's projection of various scenarios, it comes up with the one that it thinks is likely, which is an unpressured race. And we see that Extra Sexy Hipster, the 8-horse colt, has got the lead in both the first 2 calls, and unusually shows up as a closer. That is, that it can be on the lead in this race. It can also close. That's a really nice bit of versatility to have. If we look through its past performances, we see that it closed once in its very first race where it got roughed up, and ever since then it's been a bit of a pressing horse. It won a couple of races wire to wire, and I think one of the things that will go into making the price is this horse has not been running in graded stakes. It only won a $100,000 race at Laurel last out. It won only a $98,000 race, the Don Rickles second back at the Aqueduct Inner. So it's 1-for-1 at the Aqueduct Inner. I think there's a potential that this might be a good mid-price horse. This might be a 7-1 or so, at which case I would invest. Samrat, the 1A. What do you say about a horse that's 4-4? Colt that's 4-4. I mean, it just, it won its maiden, it won its allowance, it won the Damon Runyon. Now, those are state-bred races. So you might think, oh, well, it doesn't belong in open company grade 3. Oh, yeah? It just won the Withers last out. So I think this horse is going to be the favorite, the other part of the entry. Now, I said that incorrectly, that it was a Violette entry. The entry is actually because of the ownership connection, because Noble Cornerstone is trained by Wesley Ward. So, a big question about this horse. Obviously, it runs back to its Remington Park race, or even perhaps the maiden win at Aqueduct. It's going to be, a contender. What happened at Tampa after a layoff? It really just showed absolutely nothing. So there's a wild card. The part of the entry that obviously they'll be betting is Samrat, the 4-for-4 horse. Looking even further down in the line, here is a bit of a wild card. The 10-horse Harpoon should be a bit of a long shot. It's got an interesting move in its last race at Tampa Bay Downs, the same race that Noble Cornerstone ran in. And this colt, after starting 4th by 2nd, then backs up a little bit and then makes a little move forward. So I don't know if it got into a bit of trouble, which is not noted, but it really did make a big move. The last one above random is Classic Junk and Roll, and this horse did fairly well in the Jerome, finishing 2nd, and then not so well in the Withers, where it fell back. It could perhaps get a piece of the pie, and, I don't know. It would have to be a very big price to use this. One interesting thing is the Uncle Si horse, the 4-horse who's the second morning line favorite, which you would expect, because of Samrat, the winner of the Withers, is going to be the favorite. Well, this is the second favorite. That was a hard race, and it was a little bit hard for both of them. I mean, they really ding-dong into the lane until Samrat pulled away. Again, not much wrong to say about this colt. Blew away the maiden special weight on December 27th, where it was odds on, and then, very, very competitive in the Withers. So I don't know if I'd dismiss it. I don't love, no offense to the New York State breeding program, which is quite an excellent one, but they tend not to do all that well in the graded races. One big Derby winner that I remember to be excluded from that assessment. Now, I'm going to look very hard at the odds on Extra Sexy Hipster. Another feature is we can look at exotic patterns, and we see, not surprisingly, the 8 and the 1. Here's another thing, the fulcrum, which is something that I've developed and explained many times over the last 25 years, but especially in my book, Handicapping Magic. We see this fulcrum really doesn't look all that great as far as numbers. It just had an easy win at a state-bred allowance race last out at Aqueduct. There are always dangers to get in the exotics. I'm not sure I would be using it. I'll have to see what the odds come up with. But we see the same basic horses, the 8 and the 1, that we see on the odds line. So, long story short. Oh, and let's take a look. Let's make the long story longer. If we look at the fractions in the race, the primary pace looks pretty promising for those three colts, the 8, the 2, and the 1. Even the 7's going to be up there, and the 10. So those are the 5 horses that we have that we put prominently in the odds line. The big late fraction comes from Samrat, and there's a bit of a caveat with that comes from the mile 70 distance at Aqueduct, which is always problematic and always seems to have the an exaggerated late fraction. Also, the horse won by 16 lengths, 16 3/4 if you don't mind, so almost 17 lengths. And sometimes when a horse gets that far out in front, it tends to have exaggerated late fractions. But we see that the fractions, the odds line, everything kind of point to the same group of horses. They're the group of morning line favorites. The 2 and the 8 will get the focus of my attention because of the hardness of the race on the 1 and the fact that the other 2 are on top of them. The 8 is a little more of a conventional play because it's run recently. It ran on 25 January. The 2 off the layoff, but has done absolutely nothing wrong. And we have to beat the Withers, the Withers tandem of Samrat and Sai. So I hope that's been helpful to show you a few features of both Post Time Daily 2.0 and Black Magic Ultimate Handicapper software, and to give you a little insight into the way that those tools are used in value capping. And finally, to give you a head start on your handicapping of tomorrow's Gotham Stakes. I hope this finds you well. I hope you enjoy this great game of ours, and most of all, let the bet make you. I'll talk to you soon.